Well, hi everybody, Bill here. Hey, in the last video I drove over to central Indiana to take a look at my friend's new land grader he got from Everything Attachment, and I noticed he had a grapple. Let's take a closer look at that today on Today in Iowa. Well, hi everybody. Hey, you'll have to put up with my voice. I don't know what it is with the fall in October around here, but it sure plays heck with my voice, so bear with me as we get through this video. Hey, this is a pretty nice looking grapple Mark has here. I really like that lower jaw, how it sticks out 30 inches there. And I really like the single lid design he has on it. Let's take a look at some other details here. The tine pacing is 4 inches on the outside, then gets a little bigger on the inside at about 8 inches. The width, now I'm going outside to outside at the widest point's 55 inches, so if you're thinking of getting through a gate, that's what you're dealing with. 3/8 inch steel, and then if you come out here on the tip, they do 3 layers of that, and you get almost an inch. So those corners that are really going to take a beating are really strong. I really like this design. And obviously it's compatible with the John Deere quick attach system. And I really like the grease zerk locations for that cylinder there, so you can maintain that. And here's how Mark decided to do his plumbing. He has a connecting point down there at his loader end, and then he ran those hoses, those flexible hoses, back to the rear of his tractor and connects into those rear remotes. And this is what I plan on doing if I purchase one someday. I like the convenience of just running the hoses back, plugging them in, using it. I only have mine out 2 or 3 times a year. Now notice the grapple lid is run by that controller right there. Then his normal joystick runs the loader right there. So that's the 2 levers you're going to use in this. And as he's going to demonstrate, I really like that lower jaw, how the design is you can slide that into a pile or get underneath something and then grab a hold of it. So let's take a look at that and do some demonstrations here. So Mark's demonstrating how he does it. I'm sure you'll develop your own way of doing things, but this is quite different than my brush crusher. And I'm going to show you the brush crusher later and show you the difference between the two. But he gets a hold of that rock quite nicely there, and up it comes. And then places it back in place. And it worked terrific, didn't it? So it's very well built. And here's a quite larger rock that he's going to try to get a hold of. And he explained to him his technique is kind of roll that bottom jaw underneath it while clamping the top, and then roll it upward, and then he's got a hold of it. Here he just made me aware he can't lift it any higher than that. Let's stop the video a minute. You see how I visualize that rock as sitting on like forks? The design of that attachment has a load on the bottom like that, and there's nothing coming around the back side of your loader or anything like that. So to lift something like that, I visualize, and I keep referring to that bottom lip there, almost being like a set of forks. And that's got to be a great design, don't you think? So, pretty heavy rock. But I don't know why you would be lifting it any higher than that. I guess to load on a trailer. But boy, that would sure meet my needs. How about yours? So he's going to grab it again here and demonstrate it again, and I'll do a close-up on its tires here pretty quick. Nothing squatting, and everything looks terrific. Now also be aware of the counterbalance he has. He's got that that grater on the rear, so he's got sufficient ballast there at the rear to pick up something like this. Don't forget that. And I know his rear tires are also filled too. So one more demonstration with the rock here. That's a pretty nice size rock. It handles it quite nicely and up and around, and take it anywhere you want. All right, let's get out in the timber now a little bit. One thing I like about this, you can use that bottom jaw there. It's rigid, so you can scrape the timber floor pick up some of that brush you'd like to pick up and haul it away, and then kind of shake out the good soil that you want to leave in the timber. And then when you dump it, that lower jaw again drops down nice. There it is. And it'll free the debris from its jaws. Now in this example, Mark's coming in and trying to grab that vine right there that's hanging up in the air and then pull it out of the trees and downward. I like, again, I'm going to say this so many times, that lower jaw design is very desirable for me. I can see raking, skimming through some timber, sifting things out. I think that looks like a nice design. Now Mark had a roll of fencing fabric here. I don't know how long it was there, but you're going to see it's grown in among the trees and all that, and really stubborn to get it out of there. We never did get it out, but the demonstration is to show you how you can get a hold of that and really not worry about the strength of that grapple and get in there and give a good pull on it. Hey, I want to get a few shout outs here while my voice can hold out here. Gary checked in from Australia, said he's watching us from down there. Those fellows are just going into spring now, and so I'm jealous. They're all excited about the upcoming spring and summer season. Mark checked in from Hanover, Illinois. Kenneth in Kentucky. Dan checked in from Elgin, Illinois. Dean's watching us from Jacksonburg, West Virginia. And Duncan, another Australian, checked in, said he just ordered a land plane, and he was told to expect a 3 to 6 month waiting period. I'll bet you can't wait to get that, and you'll have some fun with that, I promise, Duncan. Dave said hi from Adrian, Minnesota, and he's looking forward to this grapple video. Hope you enjoy it. Keith checked in from Dunn, North Carolina. TJ, West Virginia. Kosh from Northwest Pennsylvania. Brad said hi from Bishop Fall, Newfoundland, Canada. How cool is that? And then another part of the world quite a ways from him is Ray. He is the Big 5 Tractor Works. He's in Edinburgh, Texas, and that's 14 or 15 miles north of the border. So I hope everything's okay for you down there, Ray. And Mark checked in from Bunkie, Louisiana. That's just northwest of Baton Rouge. Well, let's get back to our tree simulator there. Mark's been busy showing us how that works. But now I want to go back to my property, and we're going to get the brush crusher out and just show you, here's the apples to banana comparison that I was speaking about. This is going to be a pollinator garden, so I want to take these trees out of here that are down. So it's a little bit different technique with that lower jaw. It's kind of swinging loose. Well, it is swinging loose. And this is where I kind of compare it and say I like that rigid lower jaw where I could have slid that into that pile perhaps. Now notice here I have the box blade for my counterbalance, and I've since filled my tires. So when you see me hauling some of this bigger stock around here, keep that in mind. Now, I think they all do this, but here's a smaller branch that got hung up on those serrated teeth down there. It's not letting go, but we'll get rid of it the next time. My technique here has been to kind of lower that lower jaw, rake the ground with it, go up and then drop that top piece over what I want to pick up. Now here's an example. I must have just got the pinch point just right. It picked up a nice piece of timber there on the edge and pulled it right out of there. And while we watch this, I wanted to share with you, I was walking my driveway recently, and a tree branch came down into the power lines, started a little fire on the transformer, and brought down a big piece of brush. And I think that's really what the brush crusher was designed for, and I'm going to show you that here in a second. But look at what it did to that pole, and you can see here on the branch it caught fire. Just remind you how dangerous electricity is. But there's the mess I had after the power company was done, and it's a perfect job for the brush crusher. Now look at the angle of the bottom jaw. That's about as steep as you can get it and not dig into the earth. But it's kind of nice. You just open it up and drive into that brush pile, clamp it shut, and drag it away. And it really shines here and really does a nice job. And I'm just going to haul it down the road there and dump it in the county ditch, and then we'll let it rot. And then I'll show you a couple things here. Again, if that lower jaw could just drop a little bit steeper, and I'll show that to you here in a minute what I'm trying to explain. So I came right off there and come back here and get one last pile. Again, you can see the angle I approach it at. And then you look at the jaw opening. I haven't measured that. I should do that sometime and see if it's 30 inches or where it's at. I don't think it is. But here's a nice grapple full of brush. And I'm going to take it down and over in the county ditch, and I'm going to show you one last thing I want to point out. I can see that small branch to my left. I don't want it to get underneath the tractor and damage something, so I'm going to drag it along there and keep an eye on it. I'm sure you guys have all run into that too. Hey, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up if you enjoy my videos. It helps me out. Helps me out telling the algorithm there of YouTube that the videos are worth watching. I appreciate that, folks. So notice here I'm trying to get that brush out of there. And I'm going to stop the video a minute. All right, there's a good place to stop it. See if that jaw opened up straight down to the ground like the other ones I've been looking at. That would really help with that dumping of that debris, wouldn't it? So I'm looking for one of those, and we'll see what happens here come next spring. Now, if the budget doesn't quite fit a grapple into your life at this time, don't be afraid to use the forks. Forks is probably one of my highest recommended accessories to get as soon as you get a tractor. Here I'm in the same area, and I was going to cut these up for firewood and said, no, I've got another job for these. So slid the forks under there and hauled them out, and they're going to make some curbs for me. Now this one's pretty long, so I got to kind of wiggle my way out of the timber. And in this case, the forks really work well. I don't need a grapple here while I'm on level ground to haul this material around. So I have to wiggle my way around some of these trees. Turn it one direction, get around the tree, turn the other direction, wiggle my way out of here. Now, full transparency, this is nice and level here, so the log rides real nice here, doesn't it? Once I get into my sloping yard, that heavy end there on your left fell off the forks. It stayed in the forks, but it tipped over. I had to let it down, get back under it, and redistribute the weight so I could finish the project. That's where a grapple's lid would be nice, is to clamp down on that and then be able to take it down to my project. I wanted to follow through here and show you what I was going to do with these logs. I'm going to slide them off. That's a gravel driveway to a storage area that I have, and then I keep a big pile of black dirt to use through the year. And I'm using these logs to separate the two so my black dirt's a little cleaner. Now, one more demonstration on the brush crusher. Here's an example of it going into a pile of brush that's been sitting there for a while. This is from last year. But it does a nice job of getting a handful of that, doesn't it? Now, one thing I liked about Mark's grapple with that fixed lower jaw, I could imagine myself sliding that under that pile like a set of forks and getting a larger grapple full of that material. Let's stop the video just a minute. I want to show you some things I've done on the brush crusher since I first purchased it. I've added some steel to the sides. Let's take a closer look to strengthen up that side. My buddy Kenny and Dave They're such good welders. They put that on there. Then they also put the piece of steel pipe, and that's going to connect at these two locations and bring that inner tooth to meet with the original outer teeth. Then I also put this piece of steel on the outside to strengthen that up. And then the centerpiece that bolts on, we welded both sides. So that's part of that, and that's all welded now. We added a piece right here. Curve of the tooth comes up. My welding guy said that'll change the moment. Now, I'm not an engineer and don't quite understand that, but that sure makes sense to me that that's going to beef that up. And we did that on both sides. And filled then solid pipe on this side and this side. So both those now have a solid steel pipe, solid steel rod through those. And I also wanted to point out we put 2 pieces of steel pipe on those top teeth. All right, in the next video, we're going to saw up some asphalt and replace a farm faucet. We're going to use the forks and take those slabs out of there. We're going to do some excavating around there and show you how I found the water line to come in there. And I'm going to show you how I cut through some wires. And let's see. Oh, yeah, we're going to use some of that canned foam to create a thermal barrier. And I'm going to show you how I use 2 inches of blue board to replace the equivalency of 1 foot of earth. You won't want to miss it. Please subscribe. Thumbs up would be appreciated. You have a great month. Be kind to each other, and so long, everybody.